So this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I want to, if I haven't said this, and I'm really just a man like a man that shot out of a cannon. It's just my whole life is like that. Without stopping to look around and really be able to say what it is I'm trying to accomplish here with this Kollel. And basically, I'm looking for people who would like to learn this information, and hopefully get something going. Now, the areas that I learn in particular, we've been learning about the holidays, and the holidays are important because they really show us different aspects of the river of Kedusha. But these are all areas that I don't really know that well, or that I forgot, because every holiday, can you remember what Hanukkah was going on in Hanukkah? I got a little bit of a picture of it now. So for Rosh Hashanah, you can learn a lot more about all the other holidays, but at the same time, I forget what's really playing in them and those times of year. But over here, this is like a basic here. We're learning the Kriat Shema. Kriat Shema these are kavanas that we can do that can really amplify the amount of bracha that we can bring into the world. It's really as simple as that. So if we can learn this well, even if you, I used to talk about with the Chabros of mine, about the concept of the low-hanging apples, right? There's so much here. All of it is sweeter than sweetest honey. But the point is not to get too confused and really lay back and let it flow. We'll see what we can get out of it. Now, we've been talking about each one of the Kriat Shema. What happens, we just finished off with the previous one that we talked about, Kriat Shema L'Lamita, which is really a Kriat Shema where the chef of the Ein Sof is really clothed in the most, I guess you would say, the most thick, the most dense packaging. That's one kind of Kriat Shema. Now, that's my understanding of it at this time. I could be corrected, and I'm always looking to see what the right thing is to say. Now we're moving on. It goes like this. It says like this. B'kol ela madregos niknasim b'kli b'kol Kriat Shema me'elo ha'arba mini Kriat Shema haniskarim. What are the levels that he's talking about? These different madregos that come into Zeranpin. He says all the different males have to do the mochin of katnus. And then when you say the word echad, it brings in the zat of the mochin of godless of Ima. So as far as this is concerned, that all of the mochin of godless come in and all of the mochin of godless come in, they're all the same then, basically. They were producing mochin of godless, which could only be done if all the mochin of godless are in. And so therefore these two processes take place every single time you say Kriat Shema. But we can see it's like this, is that the difference between them is what happens from this point onwards. What madregas is he talking about? He said Kamoshi is boyer. So this, he says, is going to be explained. Be'ezus Hashem. Let's go see what this is. Obviously, sounds like it's an introduction to a big idea. I mean, there's a lot going on in the Kriat Shema. We've touched on two things that are really simple. One is the word Yisrael, which brings in any milchin katnas that are not, brings all of the men. And then the second one is the word echad. Now, these are two mechanisms that bring in milchin the godless. So now let's see, this was number Vav, and number Vav is over here. So let's see if I got it on the page, and it says like this: B'kol arba pa'amim she'ana omrim Kriat Shema. All the times, the 4 times that we say Kriat Shema, which are Kriat Shema de Karbanas, Kriat Shema de Yotzer, Kriat Shema de Arvis, Kriat Shema Shalamita, Be'elu kulim shavim, and they're all the same. Sheneknasi bezar az kol hamochin de katas de abba ve'ima v'gam shisha kitzvos de mochin de katas de ima b'vad. So he says exactly what I just said. All of this comes in every single Kriat Shema. So what do you need 4 for? Or what does he mean? So he says like this. He says about hachilukim sheyesh ba'arba bini Kriat Shema, but the differences in the 4 different kinds of Kriat Shema. What is that? How that work? He says, when they come into, that is, the Shefa comes back into Zeranpin, call them Mochin, the godless, the Hainach of Madregos Sheyesh Lamala Meshisha Kitzvos, the godless, the Ima, that is, that Ima has within her everything that came from up above her. What I mean to say is, what he means to say is where is the origin? But I said it's the dressing. And I believe I understood him saying that. Because the origin, because I keep wanting to say this, is because the tipa itself, that is the chef that we're talking about, has to be wrapped. And I understood that what he said is that the place in which it is wrapped, there are places that are pass-throughs, just like bridges, just like driving over them. And there are places where they really stop to get the vehicle, in this case the tipa, which is coming down, to get it really fine-tuned. So the highest of those levels. So let's go on. Hazivuk dezer anpin v'nuch. So there's a yichud that takes place between Zohar and Nuk at the time of the Afilas Apayim. Shehu zivug Yaakov-Rachel, and this is a yichud that takes place between Yaakov and Rachel. Na'aseh mekoyach shekibel hazah ad zivug hahu. This is because Zer Anpin is now receiving from the zivug that we're talking about, called the mokin the gadlus the abba ve'imba b'shleimos. He gets all of the mochin. All of the mochin come into him. The hainu. Acher Kriat Shemah. So we did Kriat Shemah. What did we bring in Kriat Shemah? We brought the Zayin Tachtoinus of the godless of Ima into Zer Anpin, as well as all the mochin, the godless. We brought all of that in. That happens in every single Kriat Shemah. But now, when you get to Sim Shalom, we're not in Sim Shalom. He says when we're in the Filas Apayim, he says, then you're going to get all of the mochin, not just the zat, you're going to get all the mochin of Abba Ve'ima, everything. He said, that is the chabad of the tzadi tetzalim of Ima comes in and brings in everything. And if agam lamed mem the Ima, also her lamed mem, her makifin. V'gam atzalim shal Abba, also the complete shalom of Abba, v'lechein kol yilo koach. So there's a result of that. The Hamshik Ziva Ma'ula Gazet. So then he's able to pull down all of this tremendous amount of yichud that takes place, of shefa, that comes down from this. Now let's go over it one more time. Let's read it one more time. He says, Ziva Dezer Anpin Benuk. How does this take place? On the Asa B'Shakris Be'ez Nefilas Apayim. Now, in other places, and I haven't gotten it straightened out 100%, other places he said that this takes place at Sim Shalom. On the other hand, I started learning the Tiv on Nefilas Apayim, and I said that it takes place over there too. So you have two different times when you have a yichud of Yaakov with Rachel. So let's see, the Nefilas Apayim, Shehu Zivug Yaakov and Rachel. This Na'asa, how does it take place? That this ultimate level of yichud takes place. Na'asa Bekol Shekibel Azivugahu, until this point, that you got to the point where they actually made it. Zah had to have a tremendous amount of energy coming into him from Chochmah. So he said, call him Mochin, the godless, the Abba, that's Chochmah. But the Ima and Bima, Bishlemas, everything, all of their Mochin. Now, in the very morning shir, when we're talking about, I don't know, over there, we're talking about the chiluf. And now I'm in the position over there when I'm thinking that the chiluf doesn't take place today. That's what it sounds like he's leaning towards saying. So kol chamochin, the God is the Abba ve'imba v'shlema, so all of them come in their perfection. Behind the acha Kriat Shema, that is after the Kriat Shema, but Amida, and you're astounding, and you did the Amida. Niknasu, and you went through all of that. Niknasu b'zacha pirke el yon the tzadi tetzalim the ima. So all of the whole tzadi tetzalim of ima. Now what is he telling us? He says the tzadi tetzalim, which is the part of the oros that of ima, they actually go into Zer Anpin. He says it has 3 prakim. And so the first 2 prakim, which were her zat, that came into the Kriat Shema. But not only that, but also the top part, the Chabad, which is called the Chabad. You would say, what's the Zat? The Zat is the Zat is the Chagad Nehim. That's inside the Zer Anpin already. They came into Zer Anpin. But so they're given to him Zer Anpin every time you say Kriat Shema. Now you're right, after Kriat Shema, you're in Amida. Then the Amida, you're going to get even bigger mochin coming from Ima. You're going to get her Chabad. is going to come into Zer Anpin. It's a tremendously high level of communication. So, but he said not just that. V'gam Lamed Mem De'ima, so also the Lamed Mem also, they also enter in. How they enter in, I'm not sure what that means. But they get really, really close when he says they go in. V'gam Atzalim Shalem De'Abba, also the entire Tzalim of Abba. So understand his language, because originally you had the Zat Avima came in. Now the Chabad Avima is coming in as well. And now you're saying here, wait a minute, the whole Tzalim, the Tzadi and the two Makifim, all of them are coming in. They're all coming into Zer Anpin, and where? At the Filas of Payim. So because of this, so he had, because of all of those yichudim and all the zat that was already in there, he had the koach to be able to pull it down, and he went through the amida. That's all part of the same process. Now let's look at number 9 rather. But when we look at all of the rest of the zivugim, shel zer anpin v'nuk, well, let's see what they mean by that. Behind the hana'asa b'tefidus mincha, he said that's talking about chakras and this Nefilas Apayim that takes place in chakras. But he said the Haidach of Na'asa b'Tefilas Mincha, that what actually happens at Tefilas Mincha, V'Arvis, V'Chatzos, these are the lesser of the Kriat Shema. Ein Azav and Nuk Mekablim Lifnei Zivug, they don't receive before the Zivug. Call the Mohan the Godless, the Abba V'Imba B'Shleimus, they don't get him completely whole. So we have a few more minutes, and let's see if we can read a little bit more, try to get more into this idea of what's playing behind the scenes. When I originally learned of the Rishash, let's say, and started getting into these ideas, and they are considered by anybody who's interested in learning the different levels of Kabbalah to be the higher level, so they're hard, at least as far as I'm concerned, and they are harder. I found that this Tiv, and the Tiv is really helping us to be able to see what's behind the scenes, because originally what I was saying is that you could also just look at it in terms of the mechanics, just in the mechanics of what you do, because the Rishash is a whole set of mechanical rules of what you do, but not good enough for me to be able to be successful that way. So I need to be able to learn the inside. That's what's going on with me right now. Let's look at number Yud and see if we can pick this up. So all of this really depends on what we've already explained. That they're not really the same, all the arba zivugim. The one in chakras is a big timer. The Visha b'chakras is Zah Shalom, because at the chakras and Zah can come into a position where we said, like in Nefilas Apayim, to become complete. A mamula b'kol mochim, and filled up with all of the mochim ha'ela that we're talking about, that is the tzalim of Abba, the tzalim of Ima, kulam. B'chein hazivug hahu ma'ula. So therefore, you're really talking about the highest level of yichud. V'hu yichud Yaakov b'Rachel. So this is a yichud of Yaakov b'Rachel. V'becha b'shachal zivug, but all of the rest of the zivug, and just the regular Kriat Shema. It depends on the erech, the quality of the mochin that he's getting. Kahu erech hazivug. This is really the quality of the zivug. Oz yihya zivug Yisroel-Leah, or you may have a lower level of yichud, which is called here he calls it the yichud Yisroel-Leah, or Yaakov-Leah, or Yaakov-Leah, different kinds of yichudim. We said this yesterday, and we have to see. I'm just trying to keep track of this and trying to understand where it's at. That the karas abayit is Rachel. So the yichud, because Rachel's on the bottom. The bottom means that it's near us, closer to us. So there we're talking about the Shekhinah is really represented by Rachel. So Rachel, but she has a twin sister, and the twin sister is joined to her to a certain extent. So then it's not like, but the Iker place is in Rachel. Now let's see if I can get through some of this. We have like 14:20, maybe a few minutes. And the reason why the zivugim aren't the same, the zecha begam tolui, whether or not he already has mochin degadas. So let's look at Zah in chakras. over the course of the tefillah, kol ha-mochen v'shleimus, he now has within him all of the mochen, that's the salam of Abba, the salam of Ima. So therefore the yichud that takes place between Yaakov and Rachel is the highest yichud. This is the most praised mikol hazivug of sheyesh b'chol. Zivug Yaakov and Rachel, so that's that yichud. Masha ein came with tefillas the mincha, which is not the same by mincha. Ba'arviz, v'chatzos, the other three times we say Kriat Shemah. Shein the zer anpin called the mochim v'shleimus, then all the mochim are not really complete in zer anpin. He says that Chabachain Mishtanach Zivugim, so therefore the Vishvugim change. And it's a different now in the Mochin that Zer Anpin is receiving. So that's how these different differences affect the Yichud, that where the male aspect called, let's say, Zer Anpin, is making a Yichud with some female counterpart. And he says what? Oh, Zivug Yisroel and Leah. So this is, I learned this in Vayavor, that over there we're talking about the yichud between at aspect of Zer Anpin, which is above the chazah with Leah. Oh, Zivug Yaakov in Leah, or with Yaakov in Leah, exactly what that means, I'm not sure. Im heim l'malam in the chazah, but we do know that there are two different kinds of ways in which Yaakov can make a yichud with Leah. One is above the chazah, or heim l'matam in the chazah, or the other one is below the chazah. Now, all of these are facts. I don't necessarily understand the mechanism. I'm trying. The reason why in the morning that Zer Anpin has all these mochin in him, and the mochin are really very helpful. And where are they coming from? They're coming from the Chitzonius of Atik. But also said the zivug of the Zer Anpin and his Nuk is really on a very, very high level. Yaakov v'Rachel. So that's what we say. Yaakov Avinu and his wife of his choice, the one that he wants to reproduce and bring us this Shefa, is Rachel. Kevin Shebeshachar Kuziman Shel Chesed Gamur. It's a time of complete and total Chesed. Now I think I went into the next piece, and we're going to hold it right there. This is Baruch Fleischman, Tikkun Elevator Kolel. This is something that we want to be learning in the Kolel here for a while. We want to really find out what's going on with the Kriat Shema. Kol Tov.